Welcome, welcome all, and we thank you for being with us tonight on Family Parent Night for our
歡迎
caregivers.
嚟到我哋呢個 Family Care 家庭。
And I think we're ready to open up the Cantonese room, right, Gingy? All right, let's do our interpretation for Cantonese.
Great, thank you.
All right, all set, Yuri?
Yes，我哋會而家要開始廣東話翻譯。
All right. Tonight we are going to have a special conversation that is connected to interesting times we're in when there is disturbing or concerning information on the news. And how do we talk to our children about that? And in particular, since we've last been together, we've been looking at what it means, or since we've last been together, the last time we were together, we talked about social media. And we've been in this conversation about how do we help our children to navigate and understand different forms of social media, not just Instagram or Facebook, but also the gaming programs that they're on. And so since then, Gingy and I were at home, and our sons, who you've heard a lot about, are parents of middle school students. And our youngest kid came to us and said, you know, there's this video on, what is it called, TikTok, and it is a man in Ukraine who is live streaming from his house in the middle of war. And so my son was exposed and introduced to the conflict in Ukraine by watching someone who was in the middle of it, who put it on social media. And I remember having this feeling of not having had the opportunity to talk to him about it yet. And so we had a conversation in our house, and it made Gingy and I think about how do we have conversations with our children when things in the news are violent, are terrible, and in this new age where our children get that information not just from television being on, but from school, from their friends and games, and rumors. And so we're going to have that conversation tonight. Gingy, did you want to add anything?
No, I just wanted to see, Lorena, if there were anything you wanted to translate or you thought, or we will move forward. You don't
Summarize,
have to.
yeah.
Yeah, you also don't have to.
No, ya, lo que estaba diciendo Franklin es de que las noticias que hoy en día, especialmente como dice les vez que nos juntamos ahora, está especialmente la guerra y no simplemente compartir la información acerca de, él estaba comentando que había un video que está una persona haciendo la transmisión en vivo de cómo está la guerra desde su casa. So, es de cómo podemos comunicarnos con nuestros hijos para informarles lo bueno y lo malo de la guerra. So, yeah.
Gracias. Thank you, my friend. And we'd also love to see people on camera if possible tonight. If not, we understand. I also want to thank everyone. Let's give Lorena a hearts and applause for supporting us tonight. You will be getting a gift card. We really appreciate you. So thank you, my friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Arthur, drive safe, my friend. We see you. Okay, go ahead, Frank. Next slide.
So before we, maybe we should pause here and just hear what other folks have heard, or has this come up in your house? What have you heard from your children, and how's that impacting you?
Yeah.
So let's ask one question first, which is, what have you heard from your children?
pregunta que hace Franklin, ¿qué es lo que ustedes han escuchado de sus hijos acerca de lo que saben hoy en día de la guerra?
Thank you.
Beth, have you heard anything from your children about the news or the conflict?
Hi, I was just unmuting myself there. I have two high schoolers, and so we talk about current events quite often. And yes, they absolutely get a lot of their news from TikTok, not the New York Times or the Washington Post, as I am, but we I think given their ages are able to have a lot of active conversations about it, which I'm grateful for. So, I'm on the far end of the spectrum, probably for a lot of the parents here in terms of the age of my kids.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for letting me call on you.
Of course.
How about you, Liz? What have you heard? Have you heard anything from children?
So I'm actually not a parent, but my sister is in middle school right now. So I haven't exactly had a conversation with her. I would want to learn how to lead a conversation with her about that.
Well, you're in the right place tonight, Liz, because we have some suggestions for you. And my hat is off to you for being here for your sister tonight. That's beautiful.
That's awesome. Are you a student yourself?
So actually I recently got appointed as the new school board member.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay, welcome.
Thank
Surprise.
you. Hello. Yeah, but I really just want to learn more.
That's great. Here's my last question. I really will let you be off the hot seat. What have you heard about the war, and have you heard of anything from social media yourself?
Yeah, so I'm pretty young. I'm still in college actually.
Okay.
And I am also in social media. I watch the news and I've definitely seen a lot. I mean, the algorithm is definitely different for me, my age group. It's mainly more about being in solidarity than like any information really that I see on social media. Yeah, I overheard someone else say that they saw like a actual account of someone like on the grounds there, but I've just been seeing more of like, oh, donate, please donate, or just be in solidarity. That's really all that I've seen so far.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much, as school board member.
Diana has raised her hand.
How about you, Diana? What have you heard?
Hi. Well, just the news, it's kind of scary. The whole Ukraine with Russia, right? Even over here with the North Korea missile bombs. But what I did hear is that my son really likes to read this book called like Last Kids on Earth. And he's like a third grader. So this book has really kind of freaked him out with that stuff, because he's like, it's about zombies and monsters and things like that. So he started reading the book and then seeing the show. And I personally really didn't like the violence that it showed so much of the monsters and zombies. So we kind of, and he was more like, oh, well, we have to get ready for this or get ready for that. And I didn't want him to be concerned with something like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't initially the war. It was most likely like this book that was fictional.
Right.
Yeah.
And now how our kids decipher between what is fiction and what is real.
Right. That's the hard part. So we just talked to him about it, said maybe we should focus on more nonfiction books. And we kind of just distracted him.
Yeah. Thank you. I want to pause us, Frank, for a minute. Lorena, is there anything you want to interpret that you think we should share with our friends?
I'll be honest, I was driving on the way here, so I was but
No problem, dear.
heard. Lo que estaban diciendo es de que acerca de que hoy en día, muchas de las familias estaban diciendo que la información que sus hijos comparten con ellos y como si la mamá que acaba de compartir que no tanto acerca de la guerra, pero sino de las cosas que están mirando hoy en día en línea. Y I guess, sorry, I was driving. I can
problem. Thank you,
attention.
dear.
That's awesome.
Thank you. All right, well, how about this, Frank? You all, we want to get to some slides of some research we saw that was sent to us. And we're going to go ahead and kind of walk through these slides about how do you talk to young folks, regardless of their age. And the truth is, this is also for us and our partners or family adults. Some of the stuff we apply to kids can actually be applied to us because it's actually just human need.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so I will start. There is translation on the slide, but at any moment, Lorena or anyone, if you guys want to interrupt me or slow me down, please do. This part is, how do you talk to your kids about war? This comes from the Save the Children project, and it was posted on Diversity Kids on Facebook, so we definitely want to reference them. And in this, there are 5 tips from psychologists and a child counselor on some basic things we can do to talk about war. One of the things I know is the other night, my kids, anyone get the Amber Alerts the other night? And my children jumped up and they thought they were like sirens, like they were seen on the news. And so that made us really say, oh, let's pause for a minute. And as a community, figure out how we support our youngins where we can with some strategy and intention. Next slide, please. Please feel free to interject at any time, my friends. This is also conversational. The first thing we say is make time and listen. Give children the space to talk when they want to, even if you're in the middle of something else. Encourage them to tell you what they know, how they feel, and ask you questions. One of the things I have found with my children, but also working with children as a teacher, is sometimes kids can't predict when an emotion will come up or a question will come up. And as adults, sometimes we're super busy moving, hustling around. And sometimes we just gotta pause. And in the moment where the young person has the curiosity, there could be fear or concern or all these other things behind it. And if you can, pausing is a good thing to do to address them. Okay. Any thoughts? Back to the other slide, Frank. Make time to listen while you're eating, while you're cooking, while you're driving in the car. When your child comes and says, Mommy, what is this or what is that? Uncle, auntie, sister, let's pause. Lorena, I saw you come off mute, my friend.
I was just going to try to translate. Una de las cosas que dice Gigi es de que a veces asegurarnos que darnos el tiempo que nuestros hijos necesitan, compartir qué sentimientos tienen en el momento, asegurarse, a veces estamos a la carrera haciendo la cena o haciendo todo eso, pero darnos el tiempo de realmente hacer alto y darles el tiempo que ellos necesitan para asegurarnos que ellos estén bien y puedan compartir los sentimientos que tienen hacia las situaciones que están pasando.
Gracias, Lorena.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Frank.
Great. Our second idea tonight is to tailor the conversation to the child. Older children will need more details while younger ones may be satisfied just by understanding that sometimes countries fight. So our role is to be informed, to keep calm, and answer questions honestly. Begin with simple information, as too much detail may overwhelm them and cause anxiety. So here's where it's important to remember that our children can absolutely comprehend a lot of what's going on around them and make judgments about what those things mean. And it's also important for them to know that they have physical and emotional safety. That that although there is something happening and it's feels very real, especially if they are on social media or they are getting exposed to it by something that's in their space. But at the same time, that conflict is not happening here. And so we remind them that they're safer. Younger children probably just want to hear that, am I safe? And they want to be able to express their feelings about it. Now, the older ones, as Beth was saying, talking about current events becomes much more regular, having opinions about that. Our educational system, especially compared to how we grew up in my age group, is much more apt to ask our young people to have an opinion and to be able to back that opinion up and to also have feelings about what they're saying. And so that becomes much more common for our young people as they get into the older grades. Go for it, Lorena.
Lo que estaba diciendo es de que la información que compartamos con nuestros hijos tiene que ser más adecuada a la edad que tengan, porque los chiquitines más pequeños pueden que, como dice Franklin, simplemente quiere asegurarse de que van a estar seguros. En cambio, los más grandes puede que quieran más detalles, ¿por qué es que está pasando esto? Y cosas así. Básicamente lo que dice es de que la información que compartamos con nuestros hijos es basado más en la edad que tienen ellos y realmente dejarlos a ellos, que ellos sean los que hagan las preguntas para que no sea al que nosotros le bombardemos con tanta información cuando ellos realmente solo quieren asegurarse que estén seguros.
Exactly. Let's look at our next idea. Does anyone have any reactions to that?
Yeah, we'd love to hear your voice.
Yeah.
What's coming up for you when you hear these?
I have I'll be
Yeah.
honest, this year I took off from social media. I don't watch news or anything like that. So for me, it's kind of like, it was so interesting because I didn't find out about it until, because I have my son every other weekend. And then when he came back from his dad, it's like, oh, Mom, do you know that Russia and Ukraine are going? I was like, oh, wait, they are? I was like, okay. So it was interesting getting the information from him because I'll be honest, I'm really trying to stay away. I'm like, I have enough drama in my own personal life to kind of, I'm not saying that I don't care about it, but it's just like, I'm not in, like, I don't watch TV and stuff like that. So it's like, it was interesting knowing about it. And definitely, it did open the door of trying to have a conversation with him of what is and what's going on.
Yeah. Lorena, you bring up something good as parents, how we're trying to protect our minds. We're paying bills, we're trying to go to work, we have all these stress. And so we're regulating what we take in and take out. But what happens when your kid brings it up and you weren't ready? Or you didn't know, and now we actually have to engage, right? That's real. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the fact that some people do not speak. Les estaba comentando que yo como realmente no estoy en redes sociales ni he visto las noticias y todo eso, mi hijo fue el que realmente me informó acerca de todo lo de la guerra. Eso fue algo like perfecto para poder comenzar esa conversación de qué es lo que está pasando en el mundo con la guerra.
Yuri, I keep seeing you come off mute. Do you want to say something, my friend?
Oh, she's in the other room.
Okay. Okay, great.
Okay, so then let me just do one more, and then I want to ask a couple of other folks how this is hitting them. Now, here's a real one. Let's make sure that we validate their feelings, right? So we want to speak to the child about how they feel. It's important that they feel supported in the conversation and not judged, or even more, common for us as parents is that their concerns get dismissed. When children have the chance to have an open and honest conversation about upsetting things, that in and of itself can feel relieving, right? So we have to make space for children to say how they feel. And the thing about, conflict like this is for our children, this is their first time, for many of them, seeing a conflict at this level. For our age, we've seen conflicts happen in various regions of the world. We've seen, various levels of devastation happen. And we've learned how to be resilient in the face of the report of war or the report of the devastation caused by war. So let me pause there, Lorena, in just a second and have you translate that. But we have to remember that for our children, it's their first time. And so they don't understand what we understand.
Como estaba diciendo Franklin, la otra cosa que tenemos que hacer es validar los sentimientos que tengan nuestros hijos, porque nos guste o no, para muchos de nuestros hijos es la primer momento que experimentar un conflicto a este nivel. Like, la mayoría de nosotros que somos más grandes hemos estado parte de otras guerras o de otros conflictos que ha existido. So es asegurarnos que está bien que tengan sentimientos y darles el espacio que los tengan.
So let's ask them, what have you heard and how are you feeling? And if they bring the news to you in the way that Lorena shared about her own child, like, did you hear? Then they may not know that they also are allowed to have a feeling about it. So go ahead and ask, how do you feel about that? Right? And just to see what their take is. So let me just pause there, Lorena, and then I have one more point here.
La pregunta que dijo Franklin es de que les pregunten qué es lo que has escuchado y cómo es que te sientes acerca de ello. Como si él estaba conveniendo al ejemplo que dijo, que yo comenté, que yo en serio, como no estaba en redes sociales ni miró las noticias, yo no sabía que había conflicto. Mi hijo fue el que me compartió de la información que estaba pasando. So, es permitirles tener que ellos mismos sean quienes nos den la información que saben y cómo es que se sienten acerca de ello.
And my last point in the chat, and I put in the chat as well, is if your children have social media, Discord, a text thread, anything of that sort, take a look at social media. I'm not saying to go into their chats, but take a look at social media and see what your children are digesting to see if it looks real or false. So in the story that I shared with you, once I showed interest at what my son was seeing at TikTok, he started to show me more TikToks. But then I noticed that people were starting to fake the same scene from Ukraine. So now you have kids being kids, by the way, but so they're in their own homes faking like they're in a war, and they are putting the sound effects of the blasting horn on top of their actions. So it looks like they're in the war, but they're actually not. So there's like some fake imitation happening. And so we have to teach our children to start to tell the difference between real life coverage and people faking it online for attention. And to also listen out for rumors that start. So some of the things kids have been hearing is there will be a draft. They will be drafted. World War III has started. So we have to look out for those as well. Lorena.
Otra cosa que estaba diciendo Franklin es de que ya que toda esa información que sus hijos tengan, asegurarse que la información que están recibiendo es realista, porque como estaba diciendo el ejemplo que había dicho él antes, de que había esta persona que estaba haciendo su transmisión en vivo desde el lugar donde estaba sucediendo los eventos, pues que hoy en día con la tecnología que puedes hacer fotomontaje y todo eso, que simplemente están haciendo el fotomontaje y lo están haciendo más para atención. So es realmente asegurarnos que la información que están recibiendo es realmente cierta y no nomás es puros rumores, o como dijo él, el ejemplo de que los rumores hay de que supuestamente ya la Tercera Guerra Mundial empezó, que van a hacer reclutamiento para la guerra, o todo eso, asegurarnos que lo que están viendo sea realista.
So let's pause here and see from the parents, from you all here, what does that make you think of, Chinji?
I'm sorry, Diana had her hand up a while ago. Diana, would you like to say something, my friend?
Hi, yes, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how, like, what ages are we talking about really? Is this more for middle school or because I was really concerned with my third grader if he was going to hear it from school. And I was kind of like fighting with myself. Like, should I tell him first? Should I let him learn from school? Like, I'm not sure what the protocol is here.
Diana, that's a great question. Maybe Lorena, if you could translate the question, and I'd love to answer that for you, my friend.
That's right.
La mamá que acaba de preguntar estaba diciendo que, bueno, su pregunta era de qué edad es, porque tiene un chavalo en tercer grado y tenía la curiosidad. ¿Le digo yo personalmente acerca de lo que está pasando o que la escuela sea la que comparta la información? Eso era su dilema. Ahorita Gigi nos va a contestar esa pregunta.
Yeah, this slide deck is to be adaptable to any age group. So from the time our kids get into kindergarten and are beginning to even see it on the news or listen to our adult conversations, because they're always listening, all the way to college, you can apply this. There are age-appropriate conversations and questions. And if you look back a couple slides, this will be on the website. You will also be able to see where it says for younger children, they may not need as much explanation or technical explanation. They may need to know they're safe. Or what we have found with elementary school children is they often are concerned about the other kids. What's going on with the kids in Ukraine? And so talking to our kids in age-appropriate places. But if as adults, we are having really big adult conversations around them and they're hearing that as well, then we should also tailor our questions accordingly. Was that helpful, Diana?
Yes, that was helpful.
Great.
Thank you.
And I'll just from a
Hey, can we have Lorena translate, Frank, and then
yeah,
you
go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lo que estaba diciendo Gigi es de como los slides que están, la información puede ser hecha a la edad de que tiene el chavalo, asegurarnos que lo que compartemos con ellos sea basado a lo que el interés del niño, asegurarnos que validemos sus conocimientos y al final del día, la mayoría, como si por el ejemplo el de la señora, su hijo es más pequeño, a lo mejor lo único que él quiere saber es de que va a estar seguro o a su pequeña imaginación. Los niños en Ucrania están bien, es más la curiosidad de ellos o es más a lo que ellos quieran saber, a lo cual deberíamos de compartir con ellos.
And our experience in third grade on the playground is talking about it. Oh, Franklin.
Yeah, I just put in the chat. So there, you know, as a parent, I had to learn that some of the platforms that my kids had in elementary school in third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, I didn't realize how much that was not just playing games, but was actually, until the pandemic started actually, that they were actually using that as a place to have friendships. And remember, for Generation Z, there is no separation between online and offline life, right? It's one experience for Generation Z because they've always had online. Their online friends are equivalent to their friends on the playground. Okay.
Lo que dice Franklin, que puso en el chat que básicamente la generación es Generation X.
Sí.
Sí.
Sorry, Generation. La generación Z es hoy en día, especialmente después de la pandemia, la mayoría de los chicos, sus amigos virtuales son los mismos chicos con los cuales juegan con ellos en el recreo. So es asegurarse de que, oh man, I lost my thought.
Sorry.
I was reading your post. What were you saying? I'm so sorry.
That the platforms are some of the platforms elementary school kids might use to connect to kids that we don't see.
So básicamente las plataformas que puso Franklin en el texto, que Minecraft, Roblox, todos esos son básicamente plataformas en las cuales nuestros hijos hoy en día hacen amigos virtuales y la mayoría del tiempo esos amigos virtuales son los mismos amigos con los cuales conviven en clases. So, para ellos no hay una diferencia porque esas personas que juegan virtualmente realmente existen en persona con los cuales ellos juegan después.
And I think it's also important to know that these are world platforms. They're not local San Leandro platforms. And so the world has access even through the gaming, which is not always bad, but it does mean that there are other conversations happening.
Y como y la otra cosa es de que estas plataformas son globales, lo cual no nomás es algo local de San Leandro, es algo que todo el mundo se puede entrar a él y con tal aún no puedes controlar qué es lo que se comparte en esas plataformas.
Gracias. Lorena, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. Woo!
All right.
Because I start work, my second job at 6.
Okay, we're about to wrap up. You are the superhero of the night. All right, reassure them. Remind them this is not their problem to solve. Adults all over the world are working hard to fix this, and together. They shouldn't feel guilty playing, seeing their friends, and doing the things that make them feel happy. This is important because young folks empathize with other young folks, and it's amazing. But we have to reassure our children and our nieces and nephews and siblings that they're okay, and that it's okay to live the life that they're living right now.
Como dice es realmente tranquilizarlos, recordarles que estos problemas no son ellos, que la vida no debe de pararse, o no se deben de sentir mal de ellos seguir su propia, seguir jugando con amigos, seguir conviviendo y todo lo demás, aún a pesar de que hay conflictos en otras partes, o asegurarles que ellos que estarán bien y que eventualmente las demás personas podrán lograr un acuerdo y llegar a mejores términos.
Next slide. We're going to run through the slides for Lorena.
Okay, thanks.
Give them a practical way to help. So kids like to help. This is a good time to help. For example, they could start fundraisers, write letters to local decision makers, or create drawings calling for peace. Children can have the opportunity to help, can feel like they are a part of the solution instead of feeling helpless. How many of you guys as kids or nieces and nephews just have these amazing little hearts, right? They just care, right?
La otra parte que pueden hacer es darles la oportunidad de que ayuden, como dijo Gigi, haciendo pancartas o haciendo recaudación de fondos o cosas así a los cuales ellos se puedan sentir que están ayudando para hacerlos parte de un poco, distraer su mente para que no simplemente se enfoquen en lo malo, sino también en lo bueno que tiene eso. Como dice ella, la mayoría de nuestros hijos tienen un corazón súper grande que realmente se enfocan en tratar de ayudar a los demás.
And what that allows is they can put their hands on things. They can feel like they have control in their little bitty world. Their little pennies and dollars mean something. It's going to a larger thing, and that their drawings are just making things better. It may seem small to us, but it may be therapeutic and big for them.
Como dice Gigi, el hecho de crear las pancartas les da la posibilidad de hacer algo, ellos tener un poco de control en un aspecto mucho más grande al cual ellos no pueden controlar. Como dice ella, puede para nosotros ser algo muy pequeño e insignificante, pero para ellos es algo muy grande que ellos están contribuyendo a la situación.
Right. We want to take a couple minutes. Lorena, what time you want to get off shortly, my dear? Or are you ready to go off now?
I'm already parked outside the place that I work, so I could just walk in. So I start at 6, so I'm fine at 6.
Okay, thank you, thank you. We want to ask if what's coming up for you all. Were these slides helpful? We can also drop the slide deck into the chat box if you want to look at it later, so you have access to it as well.
Pregunta Gigi que ¿qué son sus pensamientos, sus sentimientos acerca de estos diferentes tips que les han dado para tratar de cómo platicar con sus hijos? Y dice que puede compartir los slides para que si es que en el futuro más después quieren volver a leer, los tengan.
Hi, Rosario. Go ahead, my friend.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Para mí han sido muy prácticos estos tips, ya que a mi hijo sí le ha afectado un poco una forma en la que yo le he ayudado, porque él dice que si esos niños están sufriendo, ¿qué puede hacer? Entonces le he dicho que puede orar pedirle a Dios que los ayude. Es la forma en la que él se ha tranquilizado y todos los días antes de dormir pide por los niños de allá, de Ucrania. Entonces es algo bueno, estos nuevos tips para poderlo ayudar. Gracias.
Gracias.
I'll translate what she said. She was saying that these tips are great, that it has actually helped them, and because her son had actually asked her, like, what can she do with how can he help the kids out there? And she was saying, well, you could pray for them and help them. And she said that every night they pray and for them to, like, for the kiddos out there to be fine. So because she had said that it had affected him a little bit of how all that was going on, and her solution was to make sure that they pray for them to be well.
That's great. Thank you. Gracias. Anyone else? What's coming up for you?
Oh, can I add something? This is Arthur. I'm on the road driving. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I was just thinking about, let's just listen to what everybody's saying. And I think there is something that parents, kids, everybody can do. And it's so essential. Every time there's a invasion like this going on, there's always a possibility of a nuclear weapon going off. I don't know how many people know this, but if one of the smallest weapons goes off, millions of people will go hungry. Land will be wiped out, not only from our generation, for many generations we could see in the future where land cannot be used. People are not dying only in immediate zones, but they're dying because of radiation sickness and all the ramifications. So it's not a physical distance, but it's the ramifications happen in ripples throughout time too, for generations beyond. For that reason, I think what we have to do, even though we are physically safe, we have to think for the future. Okay, for the kids, it's the future. And this is something that we get all promote to try to eliminate nuclear weaponry. Nobody wins. The longest, the most harmful thing about a nuclear weapon, well, there's so many things, but for us at least, if something goes off in Ukraine or Russia, we would have climate change that you wouldn't believe. We'd have a blocking out of the sun here. We would lose crops. There's so many things that happen.
So Arthur, what are you talking to your?
I want to say thank you for bringing that up. And I think that is something as adults we're all concerned about.
Oh, yeah.
As parents, guardians, you have to determine when you're ready to have that conversation. Some of us would have it sooner. Some of us may not have it. And when you have that conversation, if you choose to have that conversation at that level, you can go to your slides. There's multiple things to do. And so I want to encourage, and thank you for bringing that off, Arthur, up, but I also do want to piggyback on that, is that is a deeper and harder conversation to have than a general conversation about war. And in your house, you determine when it's time to have that conversation. And God willing, we don't have to, but that is in our houses. Lorena, can you translate that, my friend? Arthur, thank you.
Yes, lo que estaba diciendo el señor Arthur es de que nos guste o no, Dios quiera, toco madera que no suceda, pero que si es que llegáramos a tener una bomba nuclear, que no simplemente sería el efecto, sí, ahorita estamos seguros acá, pero el efecto secundario de una bomba nuclear sería el daño que hace climáticamente, el daño que hace a la tierra y todo eso. Pero como decía Gigi, al final del día, esa es una conversación que uno como padre tiene que decidir. Y si es que la vamos a tener, pero en primero Dios no necesitamos, pero por si acaso es una decisión personal que deberíamos uno como familia decidir cuándo es que va a suceder.
Thank you. And as we move forward, you all, we're all together this year still. We will have conversations when needed and still support each other. So what I want to do is see if there's any other voices in the room that want to speak up before we get to our last slide and to our raffle and evaluation.
I just want to say my name is Susan Sandoval Romero. I'm in healthcare, and you guys really gave me some pointers there with my children, because we can get on a deeper level, like Arthur was mentioning. And sometimes we have to realize that these younger kids, I have a son who's in pre-K and a daughter who's in 4th grade to really engage on them on that level. And I really appreciate that the school and yourselves are taking efforts in teaching us and giving us that aspect so that way we could remind ourselves as to what level we should conversate with our children. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Suzanne. I want to pause. Joanna, our translator, is in the room. And so if you want Spanish translation, please go ahead and sign into the translation slide. Lorena, would you mind interpreting that last thing for us, my friend?
Bueno, perfecto tiempo que llega la traductora y la señora ya entró. So, si es que necesitan español, simplemente vayan al pequeño globito que creo que está en la parte de abajo y pueden entrar al canal de español y va a ver la traductora que les va a seguir traduciendo.
Great, thank you. And I just want to point out before we do our last slides is Lorena Franklin reminded me that we know you from high school. And that you worked with us in high school, and thank you so much. You all, let's just give Lorena some love. We are going to give you a $50 gift card tonight. You are super phenomenal and on your way to work. I don't care what you have felt this week about you as a parent, as a human, you are amazing. And in this moment, I want you to just know that you are appreciated for the little things and the big things.
You know how good it feels when you see, James, when you see one of your kids growing up from your leadership program in high school. She was in my leadership class.
Yeah. Full circle.
Full circle.
Thank you, Lorena, so much.
You're muted, Lorena.
I'm not giving my all speeches. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, oh, thank you, Gigi, because this morning was a really rough morning, and that was that kind of day that I'm like, Lord, give me patience. And it's moment is like, okay, you know what? As bad as your morning was, you are in the world. So thank you, Gigi.
Right. You're welcome. And that's a message for everybody here. As bad as the day was, whatever you've been through, whatever we have to go home to, what you're doing is amazing in the world for the young people you influence and others you may not even know needed you. Lorena, before you go tonight, can you please private chat Franklin your phone number and email address so we can make sure to get you your gift card as soon as possible, my dear?
Please.
Well, we want to move forward with Mr. Rogers because Mr. Rogers makes the world better.
He makes the world better.
We're going to end with our survey and raffle. Go ahead, Frank. This is Franklin's favorite person.
He is one of my favorite people. Mr. Rogers says, when something scary is happening, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. And so we thank you on tonight. And I'm going to show you guys a quick, like literally 30-second video of a chef who is at the border of Ukraine right now for the whole purpose of feeding refugees. That's his whole purpose.
You all, this is a good thing to do with your kids. If they do like bucks online for video games, you can say, hey, instead of buying $10 for that, you could donate your $10 to this. And so this is an example of how kids can use the little bit they have and add to a whole bunch of little bits that makes a whole lot.
Susan, I need your, congratulations, Susan, you won the raffle. I need your phone number and contact information or email.
And Chef Jose Andres is at the border of Ukraine and
We're
Poland,
not seeing it, Frank.
feeding thousands of hot meals to refugees.
Hold on.
Many ways to fight.
Better.
So people fight, just making sure that people are fed. So for people, we're going to be supporting them in many ways. So this is phase one, taking care of the borders and having, I think we've done a good job in less than 3 days. Tomorrow, I mean, we are exponentially increasing the output of meals. I think only around here we've done over 8,000 meals, only here. And we have other feeding points, okay?
Andres' nonprofit organization World Central Kitchen is known for providing meals in the wake of natural disasters, but Andres says that he was moved to come help Ukrainians. The Spanish-American chef says that they will continue to provide meals for refugees in Poland, Romania, and even inside Ukraine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
you all, we
are now on day 6
thank you so
of
much.
Russia invading Ukraine.
Thank you all. You can pull it down. We thank you so much for being here. We really would like for you guys to do the survey. It is translated in Spanish and English. And next time we will also have translation in Cantonese. Your words really matter. Franklin, do you want to announce the winners for the night and what their instructions are?
Yes, so in the chat window, I've already heard from a couple of the winners. The winners tonight are Susan Sandoval Romero and Liz Toledo. And so Liz, thank you. I got your information and just need to grab, and I have Susan's information. Thank you all so very much. And we're so glad that you all joined us tonight. We look forward to seeing you. I think while we were in this meeting, you got a reminder for single parents coming up on March 22nd. So make sure that you join us for, if you are a single parent or a co-parent, that's a space just for you all to talk about your concerns. And I'll just do a little teaser, which is the team, James, myself, Gingy, and our team, we are planning something very special coming up in May for this group. So stay tuned. We're excited about it, and we'll tell you more as time comes. So see you next time.